All right, I'm here with McToady. How's it going? How you doing? Welcome,
Not
welcome.
too bad. Yeah, enjoying. Happy to be here. Sort of got my story to share and try to rally up some troops. But yeah, been
Yes,
around the Build Guild and Speedrun Ethereum for a long time now. So try to get back a little bit and spread the gospel to everyone who will listen to me, which is
let's yeah,
brilliantly
let's
cool.
let's do that. Let's talk about pre-crypto. Where'd you get started? How'd you even get into like programming?
Okay, so we're going back a while. I think I
Just, briefly.
yeah, I was born in the year. No, so I was actually teaching English in Korea during COVID, and although there the lockdown stuff wasn't too bad, it was also like I got nothing to do. It was not too much to do, and I was like, okay, I need a thing. I don't know how it happened, but like for some reason, I've like YouTube must have dragged me down a programming rabbit hole, and I think it was almost I think this week is like the 4 year anniversary of me buying some random Python Udemy course. So yeah, it
Yeah.
started there. And that must have been 4 years ago, it was 2021. That was like crypto was starting to get crazy. Ethereum was getting up. So I just bought some crypto as a for fun thing. And then I learned about Ethereum and the smart contracts. And you could actually write these things. So it was sort of the serendipity of both of them happening sort of at the same time. So I have a very strange background where mostly my entire like developing career or whatever you want to call it has existed within the Ethereum ecosystem rather than like coming from a different ecosystem. So yeah, I have a slightly different story, but hopefully one that people have now, especially there's other people who came around 21, 2022. So yeah, I want to spread the gospel that you don't need to go to Stanford and all that kind of thing. Like if you really want something, you can go and get it.
This stuff is all like open source, right? I think you mentioned like maybe the Harvard CS 101 or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Like
yeah.
you paid for
Basically,
the course, but you don't have to. And there
no,
are good
I
paid
didn't
courses, but
even.
there's good free courses.
Yeah, I didn't even pay for the CS50. I don't think I actually finished it because it's like it
You
gets into
dropped out of
like
fake college.
yeah, I didn't finish Harvard. I'm a Harvard dropout. but yeah, there's a like it got onto like Flask and stuff at the end, and my idea is like I want people to have a very solid fundamentals, but also like there's only so much time in the world. Like if you want to get into security, I've not really introduced that. I'm into that, but like if you want to get into Ethereum development and software and like security research, knowing Flask is not the most important thing. So yeah,
Right.
I think you can sort of chop things out, and that is the benefit of like teaching yourself. If you're at university, like if there's a course on like
Can't just walk
whatever,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to take some amount of these modules, even if you're like, oh, this is useless. I don't need this in my life. So yeah, I think there's a lot of pros and cons, but yeah, I'm going to try to share my vision for the world. Token
Yes.
dropping
Okay.
soon.
Yes. So we're talking about like not just how to become an auditor or a security expert in Ethereum, but how how to learn how to do it and how to be self-taught. And it's not that hard, but it does take, I think, some tenacity. So
Mm-hmm.
where I know, what do you wish you knew before you got started? I think is maybe like the theme of this or something. But wherever you'd like to start, let's dive in and talk about it. I think you've even got
Yeah,
like an infographic to share too.
I
Whenever you're
have,
ready,
yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, I'll just put that up so people have something to look at that isn't our faces. It's just, they'll be happy. The people are happy. So yeah, really, for me, I think a lot of the stuff is there. Some of this stuff wasn't there when I started, or I've done it in a funny order because when you're starting out, you don't know what to do first, and you find out something exists like 2 years in, and you're like, oh, I should really have done that earlier. So yeah,
I
my
think we
general
need to do the
take.
intro sound too, right? Like,
Oh,
welcome to the Toadmap.
welcome, welcome. But yeah, so how I've structured this is
The
my plan.
Toadmap.
The Toadmap itself, TM, token address in the chat. But yeah, the way I structured it is I want it to be sort of like checkpoints, like a game. So once you're through computer science fundamentals, if for whatever reason you don't enjoy the Ethereum stuff, you can then go and start learning whatever it is, front-end development, like embedded, like whatever it is, this area should give you some solid amount of fundamentals to do whatever you want in the world of programming. And then the same for this. If you get through all the Ethereum Solidity stuff and you're like, wow, I really love Solidity. It's really cool making projects. And you're like, I don't actually want to do the staring, reading other people's code every day. I want to write it. Then by the time you've reached this sort of checkpoint in the game of Toadmap, then yeah, you'll be very well prepared to go out and prosper. And a lot of it, I'm going to do a lot of shilling for the Austin Griffith Association and Build Guild and everything he's built over the years. Because yeah, I think it's super, it's wild. It's crazy how much free stuff's out there. And especially when you sometimes go on YouTube, you see a lot of, oh, here's how I got into something. By the way, my course is in the description. Pay me $500
For $10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think there is a lot of stuff. I think everything in here is free.
All right. The Toadmap. The
So,
Toadmap
yeah,
is free.
the
Should we just
Toadmap is
start?
free.
Can we just start with number one? Like CS50. Like,
So yeah, we'll start all the way from the beginning.
yeah.
So CS50 is a open source module actually used by Harvard students who are doing computer science or whatever, whoever elects to do it. I don't really know how Harvard works. But yeah, so CS50 is open source. It starts in C, which I think is good, but some people may not think is good. But this is the very opinionated Toadmap, so sucks to be
That's
you.
right.
But yeah, I think it's starting in C, which is obviously a lot harder than starting in Python or JavaScript like I did. So, haha.
But it
do as I
teaches you
say,
about
not
like
as I do.
memory management, right? It's closer to the
Yeah.
machine. And I feel like Ethereum development is similar to that embedded
Yeah, exactly.
controller type thinking. But yes, okay. So you're
Exactly.
we're
Yeah,
at
yeah.
CS50.
Exactly my thoughts. Like one, starting in C, it's a typed language, unlike JavaScript and Python, like which Solidity is too. So you get used to, okay, I've got to say this is an int or this is a string, like just so that isn't abstract to you later on. As well as, yeah, memory stuff, especially in the EVM, although memory is not handled quite as much or in the same way, just being aware of the concept is really important, in my opinion. So yeah, once you get through that, I have sort of not so specific like times of like, okay, don't do every, I think there's like 10 modules. There's probably the first 6 or 7 are like real fundamentals of computer science. And then after
Then they
that,
started fluffing it up a little bit.
then
Yeah.
there's like
Okay.
there's like SQL, which I think is important if you're interested in security, because you still need to be aware there's like SQL injection, all this kind of fun stuff. But then after that, there's like some front end stuff in whatever. Do the real hard computer science stuff, and then if you're interested, keep going. This is the whole point of it being self-guided. If you're enjoying it, don't stop just because some idiot guy on the online said stop. Just keep enjoying yourself. And then yeah, after this, I'd say learn some amount of JavaScript, even if it's not the most popular language in the world. It is by use, but some developers are not big fans.
And your uptake should be quick, right? Like C is going to take you a while, and just learning how to think algorithmically is going to take you a while.
Yeah, I think.
But then once you've got it, new syntax, new programming languages almost just start coming to you as you see the syntax.
Yeah, because yeah, once you've got through CS50, they do C, and then they jump into some Python too, which will be more similar to the JavaScript you eventually move to. So yeah, once you've got that sort of the actual fundamentals in your head, the new syntax is pretty simple and pretty easy to Google anything that's different or weird. So, oh, how do I do X in JavaScript is a lot easier than just like, how do I do a for loop? I need to learn everything from scratch. So yeah,
and you should build some things too, right? Like make a little game, make a little rock, paper, scissors game, make a little, a simulation or experiment or a to-do list or something you might use, like build some things. Right?
Yeah, I think I think reps are the biggest thing. It's hard to put that into this without just being like, do this 20 times in a row. But yeah, like
we need Patrick here pumping the guns, right? Those are the reps. Yeah.
I've included Patrick.
Of course.
I didn't know if he was I didn't know if there was like ETH educator beef. You guys like,
oh yeah, no, no. When someone comes in and does your job better in this kind of an ecosystem, we celebrate that.
So yeah, we have some Patrick coming soon. But yeah,
Yep.
so yeah, just get a grasp on how to write JavaScript, what JavaScript looks like. And then after this, the last algorithms course you'll need is by a guy called the Primagen. I don't know if you're aware.
Mm.
He's a
Mm-mm.
YouTuber. He worked at Netflix for a long time, like a back-end developer at Netflix. And he made a data structures course. It's also free on the site called Front End Masters. I don't know much about the site other than they have that
And he has
one
an
free
amazing
course.
mustache too. Does he have a
Yes,
mustache in the
he has
videos?
a
Okay.
he has a really nice mustache. Yeah, it's he he's a very smart guy. Worked at Netflix since like Netflix was at the start, and now he's sort of gone into the content creation and Twitch streaming and stuff. But yeah, so he'll take you through a lot of stuff that is touched on in CS50, like binary search and sorting algorithms and stuff. But he goes a little bit deeper than that, and it's not the most important for the end goal. In Solidity, you don't see a lot of binary search or sorting algorithms because they would just be so ridiculously expensive to do. But having this sort of knowledge and knowing that you're competing against people who have this knowledge, even if they don't need it, they've got it from school, like they had to do this. And also, if you eventually do look for a job, there is still going to be some amount of like programming questions. So if you just turn up and you're like, I know nothing about computer science, then they're going to be like, great, you better be really damn good at your job. So yeah, these are not like, okay, if you don't know this, you can't do these, but I would very strongly recommend you just build that base because yeah, you don't know if you get here and you're like, oh, finding bugs is boring. I want to build stuff. You're like, okay, you don't know how to do a binary search, so you need to go all the way back to the start. So yeah, hopefully you just build up, and then yeah,
I don't know what
Neetcode.
this is. What is Neetcode? I've never heard of
So
this before.
you know LeetCode, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
Fang interview questions. Neetcode
Yeah.
is a website made by a guy who was like a self-anointed NEET, like a not employed or education or training or whatever that, like the milady, basically. Like those guys who are terminally online, don't have a job, don't do anything. He was a guy like that where he had the degree and everything, but like couldn't find a job. He made a website of like he has like I think it's the Neetcode 150. So he has like 150 of the most like common LeetCode questions, and he has videos explaining how to solve them if you struggle. And you can choose
And
like
it's neat code, not neat
.io,
code.
I
You've got a
think.
T,
Oh,
you've got a T
it's a
there, but it's
D.
supposed
Oh
to
my
be a
god,
D.
it's a
Yeah,
D.
and you can't change
Sorry,
it now because it's a picture.
this is a picture. Damn it.
Yeah, it's neat
Yeah.
code though. Yeah,
Neetcode,
and
sorry.
you'll
Yes.
find it. You just put it into Google,
Yeah. You'll get
neatcode.io. It'll come right up.
Google
These
smart.
these
Yeah,
are
they can
great
steal it.
resources so far too. Like seriously, that base right there is enough for someone to spend a few months just like becoming a CS contextual expert. This is
Yeah, I
really
mean,
good stuff.
once you get through this, I've had to do it in like funny order because yeah, I started in a weird way, but that's hopefully the blessing I can give you if you are a new person. Start in a decent order so you don't have to always be going back and filling in gaps that you missed. So I think yeah, once you've got through all this, your actual like computer science knowledge is pretty decent, I would
Ooh,
say.
and you've got Git and GitHub over there. I love that as like an extra thing here. And you got maths. Nice. But the Git
Yeah,
and
it's
GitHub, I think, is like a net, even though you don't have it kind of as part of the actual thing, like you need to know that. You need to know how to like make a PR and work it on open source software. And you should be like committing your code for so long as a builder. I don't know, it must have been 2 decades ago now, but for so long as a builder, I pushed back on Git and I would like have like FTP repos and folders that I'd be moving around. It was so bad. And then finally, and it's like 4 commands you have to learn to really get most of Git. And when I did that, it was just like, oh gosh, I can't believe I haven't been doing
wasted.
this. Like,
Just
this is so much better. Like, even if you're
just
writing a book, you should be using Git and GitHub and have that book committed and be able to do
yeah, go
changes
to
and stuff.
old
Like,
history and stuff. Like, oh,
yep,
I hate this where we've gone here. Let's go back to last
yep.
week's stuff. So yeah, this I'll talk about this briefly while we're going up. But yeah, my idea was also like these side quests are not mandatory, any one of them. But if you sort of just speed run the snakes and ladders map and don't do any of these, you're not going to have a whole sort of rounded developer experience. So yeah, I've made sort of bolder which ones I think are most important, and obviously
I love the
friends is the
friends
most
too.
important.
Friends is so good. And it's not just about making friends, it's about like showing your friends the stupid shit you're building and having them use it for a little bit and give you feedback. So many times I've spent months and months building the thing that I thought was going to be perfect. And then when I show it off to everyone, I get like 2 likes on Twitter and no one gives a shit. Like you've
Yeah.
got to be iterating and showing your friends, and your friends are going to give you all this other context about everything else that's going on in the space.
Mhm.
Friends are so important.
Yeah, I was speaking on this as well. I think a sort of trap door people fall down is when they're a newbie, they try to like reach out to people who are many levels above them because it feels like, well, if this guy just sort of tells me everything he knows, then I'm gonna be a superstar. And it's like, that's great if you find like the most altruistic person on earth who's willing to sort of babysit you through everything. But their time is limited. And if they're above you, their time is probably very valuable too. So there's plenty of people who will give you like feedback. A lot of people have reached out to me and been like, oh, I really want to get into this. What should I do? And I'm like, okay, here's my sort of have like a 3-step version of this. And like, come back to me in 3 months if you've been and sort of prove that you've got some skin in the game. Because yeah, some people just like, okay, tell me everything I need to do, and
So I
you
can
do the
get rich
work,
tomorrow.
basically. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, sort of prove to me that you want it, and then we can talk maybe. But yeah, what I was going to say on Friends is like a lot of people I've met were in similar positions to me, and we've sort of gone up together. And having those people where like you're on an even playing field and you're sometimes helping them and they're sometimes helping you is a lot healthier than expecting father, please
Yes.
help me, father.
Yes. Give me a quart of
So,
knowledge. Yes.
please, sir, just a little knowledge today, sir. So yeah, if you can find people who are in your situation, and that's where the build guild is great. And also, if you do go down the security route, once you get into contests, you start to know like this guy this guy seems like an up and comer. I've sort of scouted a lot of people who are now like making like 6 figures in contests. Like I knew he was good from the start. I was so you'll
You
get to
you
know
should have
people
had
like that.
personal tokens where you can buy into his early
Yeah,
success. I think that's going to
exactly.
happen real soon. Now that
Well,
the
it should
president of
have
the United States is deploying a personal token, I think
it
the
should have
rest of us
happened
can.
a lot sooner, and I could have been
Okay,
rich by now.
so we've got our computer science fundamentals,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like I'm good enough. I can think algorithmically. I can write my own to-do list. I can build my own apps. I can do a binary search tree, and it kind of moves into this next step of like Ethereum and Solidity. And you've
Mhm.
highlighted friends. One other thing I just want to highlight before we dive into like step 5 here is crypto Twitter. Crypto Twitter is like your friends, but the kind of people that would take your money if they could. But crypto Twitter is great. Like you should follow
Mhm.
builders on crypto Twitter, even if they aren't your friends exactly. That one directional knowledge will be a ton of
Mhm.
context for what's going on in the space.
Yeah, agreed. And in general, that sort of link, crypto Twitter links to in general. If you're here, you should have some knowledge about a thing, like you should have some interest. So while you're doing this, it's not like don't look at anything crypto related
Oh
while
yeah,
you're
go buy
learning
some
computer
meme
science.
coins too.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you should be sort of passively, whether it's like YouTube videos or your Twitter feeds, like just sort of learning what's happening in crypto world, just so it's not like a whole new world when you get there. So yeah, crypto Twitter is great. Just like follow Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation Twitter accounts tweeting stuff now, which is cool.
Yep. Yep.
So so yeah, there's hopefully less people you need to follow, and just try not to waste too much time. The Ethereum civil war that's happening right now. People who are watching this video in a year from now won't understand, but you
Right.
guys know.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
There's
don't
lots
fall
of
too
good
deep.
influencers out there, but there's just like a black hole of garbage that you can get into and follow the right high signal to noise people. And
Yeah,
yeah, when you find yourself in one of those pits, like unfollow some of those things that got you there and start following the
oh
better
yeah,
ones.
there's
Okay,
some
so Ethereum and Solidity,
brilliant.
I've got a good base. I kind of know how to dink around. I'm following Vitalik. I want to learn more about how to build these like smart contracts and how to build on chain.
So yeah, my this is Austin Griffith's time. You can sort of take over from here. But yeah, I
That's
think
right.
Eth.Build is like the most underrated thing. I love Eth.Build. I show a lot of people it, and they just wow, that works. Can I do that?
Yeah, yeah. No, only you have to do the reactions. It's like a new
Okay,
thing.
so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
fallen off track entirely. Whoa. Okay, so yeah, Eth.Build, it will sort of show you a lot of the sort of mechanics of how blockchain works, which if you want to get into security, you should be able to explain to someone how a transaction works, how a public and private key pair works, like that kind of thing. Even as a developer, you should know what you're dealing with. This is a whole different ball game to making something that exists on AWS. Like there is a lot of stuff happening that you should be aware of. And Eth.Build is fun. I'm not going to just shill. It's fun. It's great. But yeah, I think all of the videos are like probably like 10, 15 minutes maximum. So it's not a super long process and you can play with the fun stuff. So yeah, definitely get into that and yeah, just sort of learn really what's happening when you're pressing the MetaMask buttons and all that fun stuff. And then I don't know this. I've named this Web 2 to Web 3. I think that's what it's called. It's also Austin Griffith's Bill Guild related,
Search
but it
for
was
that. Is that our
yeah,
thing with Carlos and Etta?
Carlos and Ada, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the JavaScript stuff will again come in helpful here because there's a lot of like scripting and just getting used to using the chain. I think it was like the becoming an Ethereum super user might be the official title. But yeah, that kind of
So
thing
we
where
have it. Search for Web 2 to Web 3 developers guide to building on Ethereum.
that didn't
It's
fit
like
in
we
my
tried to
box.
focus it and go very slow and focus it on developers, but we go slow and talk about the seed phrase and MetaMask. And it's,
Mhm.
a year or two old by now, but it covers all the basics of getting started. There's probably better wallets now, but yeah, it's Web 2 to Web 3 developers guide to building on Ethereum.
So yeah, that will give you the kind of user experience of like, okay, how do I talk to the blockchain sort of thing? Like the Eth.Build is a bit more high level and conceptual, whereas this stuff gets to actually like, okay, how I think it's like searching like Vitalik's ENS, like ENS is involved, like balances, ERC20 token balances. So yeah, you're starting to get into the nitty gritty of like the blockchain itself. And then after that, you're ready for the real main event, the speedrun Ethereum. This is magic. This will get you not just this will be. I guess if you follow this route, this will be your sort of first hands-on experience with Solidity, but also hands-on experience with at least toy versions of real projects that exist in Ethereum. So like making NFTs or making a DEX or like random number generation stuff, which is still has problems people can't implement well today. So yeah, that kind of stuff. And then once you speed
Token
on,
vendor. If you want to launch your own meme coin without using a meme coin launcher, that's like challenge two in speedrun Ethereum.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry
So
to
there's
interrupt.
so much you can learn. I had a friend who's actually just got through here. Maybe he's hi. So he's just speedrun Ethereum. So yeah, that's once you're there, this is a kind of bonus, the Patrick Collins Foundry. I'm just a bit of a Foundry maximalist. But yeah, that's sort of bonus. But once you've speedrun Ethereum, you're sort of open to the whole. There's like a Bill Guild tech tree that Austin can share with the world. But yeah, once you're there, if you wanted to go a different route, if you wanted to do whatever you wish from that point, the world has opened up to you, or at least the Ethereum world. So yeah, there's lots of routes you can take. And then yeah, after this, I'd say Patrick Collins' Foundry course. It's good to know Foundry, especially if you want to work in security, because the testing is a lot easier to do stuff like fuzzing and even like invariant tests and stuff. When you get deep into the weeds, you'll appreciate having a good knowledge of like Foundry's testing and stuff. But again, this is something where like at a certain point, you might not do the whole video. You might get to a certain point and you're like, okay, I want to do I want to get in the trenches. I want to fight a little bit now. So that's where I'd say like make some stuff in Solidity. That's as a researcher, knowing what it is you're playing with is a lot easier by making it rather than reading a 35
For
page
sure.
long blog on like how does Uniswap v2 work. It's like, okay, make it, just make it. It's easier. But I've not put it on here, but I think this is another really good resource, like rare skills. Rare
Ooh,
skills
yeah,
have a
rare
lot
skills.
of
Yeah,
they have a lot of like guides and like, okay, how does Uniswap v2 really work? And I think they're doing a Uniswap v3 one now. It's going to be like 65 million pages long. But yeah, even just recently, like I was like, okay, let me redo the Uniswap v2. Like, let me make a slightly simpler fork of it, just to be like, okay, anything that forks Uniswap v2 now, I know the base Uniswap version very well, and that's important too. When you get to security stuff, there's about 5 projects in the ecosystem that are like 60-70% of all TVL because they're forked so much.
And Uniswap v2 is beautiful, by the way. Like once you get in and see the elegance of Uniswap v2 and
Mm.
how the DEX works and how the factory contract works and how you're, saving reserves on both sides to do the swaps, it's called a hyperstructure. And anyone can put liquidity in and earn fees on that liquidity while people are swapping between them. And it's totally credibly neutral. No one can control it. No one can say you can't be a liquidity provider,
Mhm.
it's naturally expansive because of this fee system. And then when you even see the code, it's just beautiful. It's an
Yeah,
elegant
the
code base.
especially when you make your own Uniswap, if you just pull out that optional fee switch that they're never going to turn on, but is there anyway, but just pull that out, you're like, oh, this is amazing now. So yeah,
You've got
the
EVM from scratch there. Before we jump into
ooh, yeah.
auditing, and I think that the Patrick Collins stuff is almost like a gateway drug to auditing. He's
Mm.
leading you to auditing rather than building a bunch of other products, I think. But and I see EVM from scratch here. That's from Winter, right? Can you talk through that one?
Yes,
Is that open? Can anybody get to it now?
I hope it is. I'm sorry if
Okay.
it, I'm sorry if it's not, but I think the GitHub repo is because I've definitely shared with people, so it's not like
Okay.
a you don't have to be invited or anything. But I'm not
Yes,
sure
it
if he's
is.
still I'm not sure if he's still taking on like sort of
Right, but it's all open
cohorts.
now. If you just do EVM from scratch, there's all this stuff. It's great.
So yeah, this is where the computer science stuff will come in. It's again, it's not 100% necessary, but like if you're trying to build your own EVM and like understand all the opcodes and how do you implement like memory and stuff and like read call data, this is the heaviest sort of computer sciencey part of it. But doing this really helps, especially if you run into assembly and stuff in code bases later on. If you've built your own EVM and you've fought with every opcode one by one, when it comes to reading assembly, it's still painful. It's always going to be painful. Like never, unless you're optimizer, you're not going to just read
Shout
like it's
out.
English. So yeah, like it's always going to be painful. But like yeah, this really helps. Additionally, or alternatively, you could do Hoff. I think Hoff's really good too as a language because that's also super opcode based, but it's more you could make contract projects if you'd rather do that than build an EVM. But yeah, just getting really hands on with the EVM, however you desire, I think is really important just to know that some weird stuff happens or yeah, these opcodes exist and yeah, just trying to get dirty and really understand the EVM itself because I think that's the beauty of Ethereum. Like everything you need is there. And as we're still kind of new-ish into the whole world of it, this hasn't yet got like super bloated and like impossible to understand. So you can go out there and in a week or two, you can sort of have a pretty solid knowledge of like how the Ethereum virtual machine exists, like works. Whereas, yeah, if you wanted to do that with like an actual virtual machine, like Ubuntu, like an operating system, that's a whole like year-long project. Whereas here, it's still
The EVM
compact
is
and
beautifully
tight
simple.
enough. Yeah,
Yep.
so if you really want to learn it, you can have a pretty solid knowledge. Again, with this, you probably don't need to go all the way to like implementing gas and stuff like that, but like knowing that like okay, this is how things are pushed onto the stack in the EVM, this is how they're popped off, this is all the main like addition multiplications. How do you do a loop, like once that gets compiled, what does a loop look like in bytecode? All that kind of stuff
Right.
is really important in my opinion. But then if you, again, like I was saying before, if you get into it and you don't want to stop, don't stop, like go wild. But yeah, it's not, if it's like okay, I'm like halfway there, I've just got to keep going, man. Like no, you've served your time, buddy. Just be free.
And
So
at
yeah, I
this
think
point, you're probably able to make a protocol. Like if you've gone through stage one and you've gone through stage two and you've tried to build a few things, you may
hmm,
be protocol ready. Build something and show it off. Build something and show it off. Like you don't even have to make this next step into security. Keep making products and shipping them and trying to see if you get product market fit and you get users. I will say that's definitely like a tangent you could take here if you're not going into security.
I think exactly, like, especially now where like when I was coming up, the L2s were sort of coming up too. Whereas now if you make something, and again, speaking from security background, don't make something that's super financial, and because that's this sort of pain point now I feel for developers is like anything that's like financial, you probably need an audit for it, and audits are damn expensive. So it's like if you can make something that's fun and doesn't require people to put hundreds of thousands of dollars in there and just trust that nothing goes wrong, if you can make something fun and user friendly, stuff like Base and Optimism and Arbitrum all exist now, and you can have users who are paying like cents on the dollar to play with your protocol. Whereas like if you started 4 years ago, if you make something, every transaction costs like
Right.
$35 just to play with your little game. It's like no one cares about your game that much. So,
And also,
but
your
yeah.
game can't have obvious bugs. Like, you need to understand what reentrancy is. We have the Ethernaut up here in the security. I would almost put Ethernaut down as like a requirement, like even between 6 and 7 here or
I
something like
was,
that, right? There's
yeah, I
so many
was
little gotchas with Solidity and how it works that you need to kind of do the Ethernaut to catch some of those
Yeah,
gotchas.
I was explaining to a friend how I almost think that yeah, Ethernaut is more of a EVM CTF than
Yeah,
like a security one. There
yeah,
is some of the later levels now go into like dexes and stuff like that. But yeah, the original, the sort of pure, the pure like first 20 or 25 Ethernaut challenges are really like teaching you all the edge cases that exist in Solidity or the EVM. And yeah, I was going to put it like awkwardly on the boundary
right,
of like between the
right.
two. But yeah, I think if you start getting deep into building on Ethereum, you should do Ethernaut, even if yeah you don't want to follow the security path after that. Ethernaut so it'll ramp up your like solidity level so quickly, and then stop you falling into really stupid obvious bug trap holes. So
And
yeah,
it's so exciting when you get it right and the console blows up with all the celebration and stuff. I remember I still worked at my old job and I was working on figuring out some of the Ethernaut challenges. And when that exciting thing congratulated me, it was like, all right, it's time to quit my job. Like, I'm ready.
I'm out of here. But yeah, I think that's great, and yeah, it would look weird, but imagine it's sort of on the cusp
Yeah.
of like it should sort of be necessary for both Solidity developers and people who want to then do security
I was
research.
saying protocol ready earlier. Don't deploy a protocol until you can get all the way through the Ethernaut pretty
Mhm.
quickly.
Yeah, I think, but yeah, you can definitely start building things, but hopefully you have your friends, and you can at least not deploy on mainnet. There's plenty of fun test
Yeah.
nets, but yeah, you
Okay.
can have people
Yeah.
look at it and play with it and share with other people. And if interest is
Yeah.
there,
If there's a
then yeah,
reentrancy bug, put $100 in it and you'll know right away.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and if you build something and you want some eyes over it, there's plenty of security people who
Yep.
obviously they're not going to give you a
We'll
rubber
shit on
stamp
you.
that they're not going to
Yeah.
stamp like this is zero bugs, trust me, bro. But
They'll tell you where
they'll
you're an
take a
idiot
look of
though.
it and they'll give you
Yep.
some tips to like
Yep.
move you along. So I think free audits are out there, but just be aware that the auditor's not going to spend 3 days
You
trenching
said
through
something
it.
really interesting there. You won some eyeballs. And I think that was one thing that I really failed to do early. And you need to. If you're going to build a product, you need to win some eyeballs and you need to win them early. Just get one or two people to try it. Like, don't spend so much time building the thing without a single other set of eyeballs playing around with it.
And I think this is, like you mentioned earlier, this is where crypto Twitter comes into play, and building in public in general. You can win a lot of fans or just get to know people who otherwise wouldn't have a clue about you, and start to build a network without being like weird marketing networking, but like that you can start to build like a community of like-minded people, even if they're not like your users, they're your friends who if you put something on Twitter they'll go, oh cool, he's making this. And sort of watching someone every day just upload, oh today I've made a little feature for my game that makes this. It's when the actual thing comes out at the end, you have such a sort of attachment to it because you've watched it grow.
The little baby.
You're
Yeah.
there from when it was a baby and you've seen it grow. So if you can just put it out things like that, get some people to look, get some people to give feedback. I wouldn't dive too much into like the marketing, the sadness when like, oh, this one only got 3 likes, but then next one got 7. It's like
Keep
the
building.
Twitter or X, whatever. The algorithm is a monster of its own. Some stuff just bombs and some stuff goes wild. Like it's don't feel like your worth is tied to that number, but that's sort of a philosophical debate for another day. But yeah, just keep posting things out there. Try to get to know people. Become a bit of a reply guy for people and like they'll sort of see like, okay, he talks sense. Don't just like lambast people, but like just get involved in conversations. You'll get to know people that way. And then yeah, just sort of go from there. Like build
Looks like
your
Patrick.
and we're back to Patrick.
Oh
Okay.
no, I didn't mean to jump in. Yeah, it looks like Patrick is next though, right? Is that
Yeah,
number
we're back to
10?
Patrick. The Cypher Securities, his
Yep. Shout out.
Cypher does everything now, I think. So they're contests
Auditing. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, private audits
But good courses and
and courses too.
certificates, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so his security course again. Sorry, Patrick, but like this is one where I say like do the first 5 because by the time like, this is how it literally worked for me. I got to how it's laid out is it's a lot of like mini mock audits. And by the time I got to like the 4th one of like 8, I was like, I want to do some contests. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
You
Put me in there,
ready?
bro. Put me in. Put me
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a testament to the course itself, where like you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then once you're at the contests, this is its own loop of just keep learning. How does this
Let's
protocol
name
work? How
drop.
does this work?
I know Code Arena. I know an ImmuneFi. What are your favorite? What's your favorite? And work
I
down
was
from
a
there.
Code Arena guy.
Okay.
Like that was where I've had my most success, and that was the big one last year. Cantina's really blowing up, so I definitely say look at Cantina. They're the Spearbit guys,
Okay.
and the Cantina's really hot currently. Sound like a really hot one now. Invest, but Sherlock as well, and yeah, ImmuneFi are moving more into contests as well as like more traditional bug bounties. But yeah,
And
I'd
you said
say
Cypher too.
yeah, Cypher have theirs. Code Hawks. I think they might have
Code.
rebranded.
Yeah.
They might have rebranded it to Cypher now. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but yeah, it's all under the same umbrella.
But these are contests where it's like a double-sided market where someone needs an audit, they put it up, and
Mm-hmm.
then a bunch of people compete to find things. And depending how severe, you get a cut of the money. And it could just be gas optimizations. I've seen starters get started with gas optimizations and never really find anything critical. But then also, like, there's lots of critical, like, good
Mm-hmm.
security stuff, low-hanging
Yeah,
fruit to not low-hanging fruit.
I think that's sort of there's less of that now, which is unfortunate because yeah, when I got started, you could put in gas optimizations or even like infos you'd put as like a report, and if you had a really good report of like just lower level informational suggestions and stuff, you could get some payout for that too. Whereas now I do think most
I think the
platforms have
competition's pretty
yeah,
steep for
it's
that. If you imagine like this is low-hanging fruit, there's hundreds or thousands of engineers that can figure this stuff out. So it's not going to be low-hanging for long, or
yeah, I
at
think
least
that's
it may hang low, but the fruit will be gone quick.
yeah, it ends up being like 5 cents for you spent
Yeah,
three
yeah,
hours like
yeah.
typing out gas optimizations and testing how much gas they actually save, and you're like, oh, I got $5 for this. So good, that's good. And like that's what I want to say. This is the contest should still be treated as part of your learning journey until you start like repeatedly making like at least like 3 figures, then hopefully start getting some 4-figure hits. Anything you make is free money basically. You're basically getting paid to learn because not only are you getting the contests themselves, like you get the code to look at, you also get to then look at what other people found, and you can see, oh, how did they find this? Why did I miss this? Oh, that's a kind of common bug in whatever in a dex. There's not a slippage protection. This probably doesn't exist in reality, but just for simple terms, like oh, they have signatures and they don't have the right sort of EIP 712 checks on it. So this could, even if it's not a bug here, maybe another contract could be repeated here or whatever. So getting stuff like that, where like not only do you get to do the job, because if you eventually want to work for a firm, having this knowledge is 90% of my job now. Other than like, okay, I talk to the client a little bit more. Like, but the main job is here's a code base, find the bugs. So yeah, this is real on the job training that is really hard to get in any other industry Because even if you're making your own Solidity projects, you're probably not making like a 4,000 line Uniswap contender. So like it's hard to get that real high level Solidity experience, but it's easy to just, okay, Uniswap are doing a contest and there's $1 million pot. I'm just going to learn Uniswap v4 for the next month or however long it is. And
It
if I
could
find
take that long.
anything,
Yeah.
that's a cool little bonus. And if I don't, I understand how Uniswap v4 works. And like I was saying before, the forks of Uniswap v4 and the hooks and stuff that like implemented into it, if you know Uniswap v4, your life's going to be super easy going forward. Because yeah, when there's a fork, you're like, okay, I know how the base one works, or I know how the hooks are supposed to be implemented into this. What are they doing wrong? And then you find you're paid later on down the line. So I just want to quickly jump back
Damn
to,
vulnerable DeFi. Did we skip that one on
yeah, I was just
11?
going to
Is
say,
that
let's
what
jump back to
DamnVD is? Okay.
damn vulnerable DeFi. This is definitely higher level than Ethernaut, and it is sort of DeFi focused rather than like EVM or Solidity focused. So this will be stuff like flash loans and other
So cool.
weird fun stuff. But yeah, I definitely recommend this too. Again, it's one of those ones where once you start getting into it, you're like, I just want to do the contest, I want to do the contest. But like, once you're at this part, like especially the last three, I think you obviously for the sake of my line, I wanted to keep it going. But these can sort of be done simultaneously. Like you jump in, you're like, oh, there's no contest I'm interested in right now. Let me do another section of Patrick's course and a few damn vulnerable DeFi things. So yeah, it's not a linear progression. Like once you get here, you can sort of fork into whatever orders suits you right now. But yeah, damn vulnerable DeFi it's made by the Red Guild, I think. I hope that's right. But or I'm sorry,
I have no idea. Thought it was
Tincho.
thought it was this one dude. But yeah, no, it's Red Guild. It says Red Guild right at the
Okay,
bottom. Yep.
we did it.
Good
So yeah, I
work.
think that one
Salute
dude
the Red
is in the
Guild.
Red Guild, basically.
Must
but,
be.
but yeah,
I was thinking of something else.
this is a lot higher, and these are quite difficult. And sometimes if you have to Google other people's write ups, then do it. Like it's not a test where like the guy's looking over your shoulder like as long as you learn the concept and you don't just like I solved it by copy pasting the answer. Like as long as you read what they did to solve it and then later on can go back and do it again, then that's the point. We're not here to, it's not a test where like you passed the test, now forget all the knowledge instantly. And that's something I want a general thing too with especially Ethernaut and damn vulnerable DeFi. Don't do it once. I've done Ethernaut about four
Speed run
times,
it.
five times.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
just every sort of, I don't know, it's like every 6 months, like a doctor's checkup. Like just go back and like speed run through it. Like just make sure everything's still in your brain. Because yeah, the more it becomes like a muscle memory, the easier when you see a reentrancy pattern, you're just like, whoa,
Yep.
that's in the wrong order.
Yep.
Even if there's not a bug there, it's like you should at least put that in the right order.
You
Just
get
be safe.
goosebumps and yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so just doing it every few months and just being like, I've not done Ethernaut for a while. This is a fun weekend task for people with no lives. Let's do it again. So yeah, this and same with the even going back all the way back down to the computer science stuff. If you make binary search or like quicksort algorithm once, you're going to forget very quickly. Like, you're going to have to every few months just drop in. I think the concept's called like kata. It's like a Japanese martial arts thing. Like like is it the Bruce Lee thing? Like fear the man who's done 1,000
Oh yeah, 1,000. Yes.
some things
Yes.
and then something else. But yeah, that kind of concept where like if you do everything once, you're gonna be kind of crappy at everything. So yeah, it's just keep training, keep getting your reps in. It's like going to the gym. If you do chest one day a year, good luck. it's you've got to spread out your wings and just keep getting the reps of whatever it is you want to get reps in on. That's
It
that's a
should be
more
fun.
general. Yeah, and it is. I hope for you. Like if you made it this far and it's not fun, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Like just find something else. I'm sorry you wasted all this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
it's I've got friends now who are doing CS50, and I've seen them do the sort of the snap where it's like
It's
they've
fun.
they've they've
Yeah.
done their first like they've got their first solution where it's they've not had any help and like they've coded something themselves and they've got the similar to like the Ethernaut like boom 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 they've got like the passing
Yep.
tests And it's like, oh, I did it, I did it, I did it. And I'm like, okay, now you're in. Now there's sort of no going back from here. Like this, once you get that buzz of like compiling something and it works, you don't get any errors. And that's sort of the dopamine we're here for, I think. And then yeah, it's the same all the way through. Like even contests, when you find a bug, it's
So cool.
always
Yeah.
it's always cool, even if you found 100 before, or even if even if the code base has loads of them. Every time you're like, oh, another high, a high, I found a high. So you're just telling people who don't care, like, oh, I found a high in my code base today. And it's like, so yeah, I think that's the joy of this specific thing. I can't speak for other fields, but the joy of like programming in general is like you get that feedback loop when like the reverse is the same too. When you write something and you get 47 error messages and you're like, oh damn, I like you want to stop that. Like you have a little bit of an urge in your body to like, okay, let's get rid of 3 of the error messages. Okay, oh, 3 more, and then you get into that habit of like you're getting feedback quite quickly, so you don't have to. It's not like you write an entire book and then at the end you submit the book and they say, "Oh, it sucks. Waste another 6 months of your life." Whereas
Yeah.
this is like, okay, you write something, get some very fast feedback from the compiler or from whatever it is, and then you learn from that. So that's the sort of learning journey you need to take.
What do we
Is
got for
quite
side quests here? I see Rust. Rust is hot. Good
yeah,
for
I think
efficiency and fast code.
yeah, I Rust is. I don't want to talk about the guys who use Rust. That other world. But the Rust also it touched on ZK stuff, but like the Cairo too is sometimes there's a lot of Cairo stuff going on. Sometimes it slows down. But yeah, Rust and as well EVM stuff. These two could be tied. You could make your EVM in JavaScript or
Ooh,
whatever,
yeah.
but you could, and I have attempted to make an EVM in Rust, and it's like Sisyphus, like rolling the ball on the hill. but yeah,
And check out Revum. Like Revum is basically that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's
they can
probably much
show
more
you how it's
solid.
actually done.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, stuff like that where Rust is good for infra stuff as well as some like Cairo contracts and whatever. A lot of the stuff like Revum and all of the like that paradigm ecosystem of things, and Foundry itself is also in Rust. So there is a world where you're really get into if you get into that kind of stuff where like, okay, I don't actually want to make smart contracts. I want to make EVMs or I want to make tooling and stuff like that. Rust is probably still the main language. And then there could be Go here just because Geth is massive and OP Stack is also in Go. So yeah, this could be Rust/Go, but I like Rust, so get screwed.
And ZK is just like also kind of like the future here. I feel like AI agents are another meta that has really taken off, but
Mm.
you should understand like zero knowledge and how to go about like generating a proof and verifying the proof and how that kind of dance works, just because it's going to be cosine knowledge you're going to need, even if you don't build a privacy platform, like you should at least speed run ZK and learn how it works.
Yeah, I think it's just really cool too. Like I want to get more into it. I missed my maths era. So I'm sort of going back now to try and like get a nice like all the way to linear algebra, hopefully,
Oof,
if I have enough years
I'm
left
too
in my
old for
life.
that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, if we can get that back, like that's why I'd say if you want to do it, start early because then you very quickly rack up you can remember all the stuff you studied 15 years ago, like me, and then start learning some new stuff quicker. But yeah, ZK is really cool. And yeah, I think my personal opinion just on like use case stuff, there's so much stuff that we can eventually be doing with ZK. So if you want to dive into that rabbit
Yep.
hole, be my guest, like really, and then make a
Uh,
roadmap for me to then go and really get deep into ZK.
yep, I agree. So, okay, the TLDR of the Toadmap is that you can do it at home. Like this is like a 4-year journey from you where you went from zero to hero. You have a 6-figure plus auditing job at a professional auditing place and you're a badass and you've won all these contests and you started from zero, and it wasn't that long ago. And I think that's the TLDR here. But how would you TLDR the Toad map? Is that close?
Feeling pretty good now. I'm feeling I'm feeling
Hell
good.
yeah.
I need an Austin hype man every day. But
That's
yeah, I
right. That's right.
agree. I agree. Yeah, like I think this is I don't anything. Maybe the ZK stuff is actually hard, but like everything else is like you don't need to be 150 IQ to do this stuff. I know some people will try to make it sound like that because they need to make money. Like they
But
have to
don't
sound
believe
like
them.
they're
That
super.
Eth.Build, that's built by a caveman. You can go see a caveman explaining these concepts.
So, but yeah, that's why I think the main thing is time and effort. And yeah, just hey, don't expect results in week one or even month one, and probably not even year one. Like it's a long journey, and there's a lot of stuff that you're not used to if your only learning background is like university or school or whatever. There's a lot of stuff where now maybe you've got a job and you've got kids and a girlfriend who you need to organize your time well. Whereas at school, it's like, here's your schedule, organize your life around me. Whereas now it's like, okay, I've got work at 9 and I've got to go out with my girlfriend tonight. And if you've got kids, there's an extra barrier to entry. But it's like, yeah, you need to find the time if you want it. And if you want it enough, you'll find the time. There's so much time we all still spend YouTube shorts or scrolling Twitter. Like there is enough hours in the day.
Don't
I
get
want people to
stuck.
know that like, yeah, it's not like, oh, I'd love to, but I don't have the time. I hate that. Like you don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Enjoy yourself. Go live your life. Don't fall into our weird little world where we're all online all the time. But yeah, it's just if you want it, go and get it. It's very possible. I am now working full time at Quantstamp. Hi guys, this is
Woo,
not a
woo,
Quantstamp
woo.
hoodie, but yeah,
Yeah.
and I a lot of my coworkers do have like PhDs in computer science,
Right.
and
Right.
it's it's still spooky to be around them and just. But I don't feel like othered. I don't feel like we hired this we hired this weirdo off the streets. Like I feel I can speak to them after sort of dragging myself through all this. I can discuss issues and find stuff that they don't find, and it's not a like they're so smart and they had the perfect path. I'm writing a blog and I've got a sort of little quote in there where it's like, this is a marathon, and the people you've got to start at the back, and the people in front have got their like little glucose gels and their heart rate monitors on, and you're wearing like the Mr. Potato Head costume, and you've got to you got to beat those guys to the front, or you've at least got to not stop when they stop, and they're gonna have a little break and stuff. So yeah, always be aware that like there's a goal at the end and you can chase and catch up with these people. And yeah, just embrace your Mr. Potato Head costume. Like you can get there. I am on Twitter and whatever else. If anyone has any questions, if anyone needs help, if anyone needs me to tell them stop being lazy and just move your ass, like I am there 24/7 to abuse people. And if you want to pay me to do that, then it turns into a weird thing that probably shouldn't be happening on a different website somewhere.
It's a two-sided market, makers and takers. It works. I
Don't
think,
move
yeah,
it.
and like don't build forever in a hole. Show it off. Find friends, find your first customers. Build things that you use too, like on that bottom rung. Make a to-do list and use that to-do list every day and improve it. Like there are instant wins you can get from starting to think algorithmically about things.
Mm-hmm.
At the very bottom, you can start making that. You can pull up Cursor and say, Cursor, help me make a to-do list. And it's probably just going to do it for you. But you need to get in and learn the code and figure it out. But there are infinite resources available. Go ask ChatGPT. Go to any of these squares on here. Try to do them somewhat in order. But hit the Toadmap, TLDR, follow the Toadmap, and you too can be a six-figure auditor.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Woo! Hearts, hearts. Thank you. I'm gonna do this again. Yes, and maybe some fireworks. Yes. All right. Thank you, McToady. Go look for McToady online. Thank you so much for this. The Toadmap. Check it out. Get the Toadmap. Go build. Go learn, and go audit. Thank you, McToady. See you.